Steve Gardner from USA Today joins me for a couple moments on a Wednesday. How you been, Steve?
Good, Rich. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Always good to catch up. Pennant race is starting to heat up. And can you recall a season where you had three teams have the type of runs and the success that they've had? Houston, the Dodgers, and then what we're seeing with the Indians with that 22-game winning streak. They won 25 out of 26. I can't recall a season where three teams have really just, I don't want to say run away with it, but just had these stretches of long success.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, especially the Indians. Where they won 11 in a row on the road. It was just incredible. So no, they say you see something new every time you go to a game, or every season you see something different. That may be the one for this season. Other than that, and all the home runs, of course.
Yeah, the Indians to me though, and Chernoff's done a great job as GM. Again, 25 out of 26. First of all, to win as many as they did in a row, it's really, in this day and age, it's really unheard of. And here's another thing, right? You look at that offense during that, their pitching was spectacular, but their offense was ridiculous. I mean, you look at their pitching, they would give up a run here, a shutout here, a shutout here, a run there, 2 runs there. I mean, is that one of the greatest stretches of baseball that you've ever seen?
I think so. And, the fact that over those 20 games, I think they outscored their opponents by, over 100 runs. So, I mean, you're winning by 5 or more every night for 20 straight nights. It's just unbelievable. So, certainly you worry a little bit if you're the Indians, if you can look at any, a dark cloud over it of
Yep.
peaking too early. But they've got everybody pretty much healthy, and, Michael Brantley may be back. Lonnie Chisenhall may be back in a little bit. So they could be even more healthy, and that's a scary thought for the rest of baseball.
Yeah, and you're getting great production from Jay Bruce. He had the triple and the double, 3 hits the other night. Jackson with a couple of singles as well, and then they double up the Angels 6-3. Again, their 25th victory in 26 games. When I look at the AL, and you've got Judge, and you've got Altuve, and then you got Ramirez, then you got Encarnacion, Edwin Encarnacion. Who would be your AL MVP right now? Because I'm starting to lean a little more towards Jose Ramirez.
He's definitely in the top 3. I think Judge is in there. I think Jose Altuve is in there, and Jose Ramirez. We did our little power rankings votes here at USA Today, and those were the 3, at least my top 3, and Mike Trout is in there as well. But he's really, if the Angels make it in, maybe he gets a little bit more of a consideration. But at this point right now, considering the way that those teams have performed, which does count some, it seems like, in terms of the voting. I think those 3 are the main contenders right now.
It's tough for me, and what Aaron Judge has done as a rookie has been remarkable, because nobody saw this coming. I don't care who you are. Nobody saw the type of production, the power numbers. The reason, and he'll get a couple votes, but to me, I could even make an argument he's not even the Yankees MVP. I mean, you can throw Gregorius, Severino, Sanchez, even though he's had his issues as a catcher. But Judge had that prolonged slump, and I think, if anything, that hurts him.
Yeah, I think so, but he's turned it around a little bit lately, and I think, when it comes to judging the entire season, and you look back and you see, him leading the American League in home runs, and he's going to have 100 RBIs. He's already got 118 runs scored. I think that's kind of an underrated stat for him. He gets on base, he takes walks. Nice on base percentage, over 400 for an OBP. So when you take all of that in context, Judge has had just a tremendous year, and it's amazing to think where he was last year at this time. When he was striking out 40% of his plate appearances and hitting under 200.
How do you think it's going to shape out the wild card? I mean, it looks like it's going to be the Yankees and the Twins.
Yeah, I think so. The Angels have made a game run at it. I didn't think that they'd be able to mount any kind of a charge, but the Twins look pretty decent, and they've been slugging awfully well lately. The offense has been carrying the pitching staff, and I think the one thing though is that once you get into that wild card game, you've got to have a pitcher to start that game, and you lose that pitcher for the next round. So it's kind of all in for both of these teams in terms of just getting into the playoffs, and then it makes it a little bit more difficult to move forward after that.
No, it's a great point you bring up, because if it is a one-game playoff, I mean, I would again venture to guess they would want to throw out Santana. No.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, maybe a month or so ago, I might have said Jose Barrios might give them the best chance to win, but Irvin Santana, the veteran, and Barrios has kind of run out of gas a little bit down the stretch. So, I think Santana would probably be the choice for the Twins, and you'd have to say that Luis Severino has been the ace for the Yankees, and I would think he would start.
What team is built right now in the AL? When you talk about some of these wildcard teams, when you mention, say, the Angels or the Twins or the Yankees, that is built to, if they get in, they can make a run here?
Wow, that's tough. I guess you'd have to say the Yankees, just because they have the guys, the horses that can kind of carry you if need be. It's so many times it comes down to one play or one at bat or something like that, and you can see. At least I can see a Todd Frazier or a Matt Holliday, one of those veterans coming through with the big hit or something like that. So the Twins have not been to the playoffs for a long time. The Angels, I think, maybe have had a wild card appearance, and that's about it in the Mike Trout era, if that. So I think the Yankees have that kind of skill, and you look at the bullpens too. I think the Yankees bullpen, if Betances can kind of correct himself and get right, I think that's important. As we saw last year with the Indians, if you can lean on your bullpen a lot, then you've got a pretty good chance of advancing.
Dodgers have dropped 14 out of 18. They had that 11-game losing streak, and then they come back and they win 4 in a row. They dropped 3 straight. They've dropped 2 out of their first 3 against a very bad Phillies team that, albeit they're showing a little bit of life there with Hoskins. But how concerned would you or should you be if you're a Dodgers fan right now? Is this just a product of, well, it's late in the season, they've got a cushion against Arizona, which, 10 games, you would think that's pretty comfortable, or are there underlying issues here with this club?
I don't think so. I mean, they came to Washington and won 2 out of 3 against the Nationals and beat them pretty badly in the first 2 of the series. So anytime you can roll out, and Yu Darvish pitching well last night, didn't allow an earned run, I think that's a big plus for them. So you look at the Dodgers, and they've had injury issues to some degree. They've had guys finally come back now with Adrian Gonzalez there. I think talk about veteran players who can provide a spark in a big situation. Adrian Gonzalez is basically going to be, I think, a pinch hitter in the playoffs. And when you've got somebody with that kind of experience, I think that's a huge weapon to have. So I think the Dodgers are going to be fine in terms of health for them. Everybody seems to be in good shape. And again, the Dodgers bullpen is pretty darn good too. So teams will go through some slumps here and there, but I think this team is well balanced, it's deep, and it certainly is a team that could go all the way to the World Series.
Speaking of a team that, again, has to build to make it to the World Series, the defending champ, the Chicago Cubs, I mean, have they figured it out? 7 in a row, got the home run from Schwarber the other night. Montgomery pitched well the other day. You still got Madden. So, again, you've got that X factor, if you will. Rizzo and Bryant, they're hitting the ball. I mean, all of a sudden it seems as though the Cubs are figuring it out.
It does, and that's not a surprise. I think they've kind of, if you can say, sleptwalked through the season.
Yep.
Just haven't really caught fire. And you and I have talked about that. When are they going to kick it in? Well, it doesn't look like they really have. But once you get to the postseason, then the momentum is as good as your last game. And I think the Cubs have certainly the talent to be able to do it. All of the guys, or at least a good number of the players who were there last year, and then you've got Ian Happ coming in and making kind of a difference, the rookie. So this is a team that is built solidly. They have the experience and having gone through it, and I think certainly the Cubs, you can't count them out. If they face, say, the Nationals in the first round of the playoffs, you certainly can't count the Cubs out against Washington.
All right, let's close with the aforementioned Washington Nationals. Listen, we know about their lineup with Harper and Murphy and Lind and Rendon and Zimmerman. I mean, these guys, you're talking about 4 or 5 guys that have well over 20, 25 home runs this season. They hit for average. They hit for power. What makes this national teams different than the ones we've seen in the past?
I think the bullpen is deeper, number one. I also think that it's a more well-rounded lineup all the way around. You have to go really deep into that lineup to get to somebody, and it may be to the pitcher spot before you find a relatively easy out. I mean, this is a team that for a while was the top scoring team in the National League, and I think the Rockies have passed them, but still it's a team that can put up a ton of runs, and when you've got that 1-2 punch of Max Scherzer and Steven Strasburg, and Gio Gonzalez could also be part of the Cy Young conversation in the National League. Those 3 guys, even, that's a great way to start a game. And with any of those 3 on the mound, you've got an opportunity to win. So this is a team that is, again, built very well, built for the postseason. And I think the only hurdle they have to clear is, can they win that first series? Because that's always been the issue with Washington. They've been 1 and out. Yeah,
it's been their bugaboo. And I think mentally, too, you're right, to just get past that first round and win that first series. Of course, everything starts the 3rd of October, AL wildcard game, and then that's on a Tuesday, Wednesday, October 4th. You got the NL wildcard game, so we're about 2 weeks or so away. Which is good because you know me, I love postseason baseball. And then I think to me it's fun to watch. I mean, the intensity level in every game, and over the last several years, we've had some great series. I mean, Toronto, Kansas City, the World Series last year, the Mets a couple years ago. So it's always, and the one-game playoff I like because my philosophy is this: listen, just go out and win your division, right? Make it more competitive late in the season, where now all of a sudden, if there's 5 games left and the team's up by 3, it makes it pretty interesting, and they drop 1 or 2, and then another team can try to pick up and tie for the divisional lead, or at least have an opportunity for that one-game playoff. I think it makes the races more fun to watch.
Yeah, I do too, and like we're talking about, it forces you to burn, if you're the wild card team, essentially your best pitcher to get to the next round of the division series, and that that gives a little bit more of an advantage to a team that finishes with the best record. So I'm excited. There's so many really good teams, which maybe we haven't had in some previous years, but I think at least 5 or 6 definitely have a clear possibility of going all the way.
All right, we'll get a little clearer picture going forward next week when we talk again. But, Steve, always a pleasure. I appreciate a couple of moments, pal.
Thanks, Rich. Always fun talking to you.
You got it. Take care of yourself.